Hey everybody, I'm Julian.
And I'm Ruth.
And welcome to another episode of
Together United. Alrighty, I am back in Ohio.
Today is December 11th.
Yes.
And
we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Want me to start?
Well, yeah, we'll start local with
Okay.
what's going on in Toledo.
And there is a lot going on in Toledo. So I think the first thing that we can bring up is the news of excuse me. A man was shot and killed by the Toledo Police
right as we
Department.
were ending our podcast last week, about 12:30 last Friday, at the Wilder Homes in Toledo, Ohio, man was shot by the police. Right now, shortly after
we
that,
all make excuses for not visiting the doctor.
Shortly after that, video of, it was a domestic dispute, and he was shot and killed. He had a gun, pointed at police, and it's one of now the over 1,000 people that have died at the hands of police officers just this year. Right. And while they're saying it's justified, I mean, I really believe that we need to thrive to live in a world where police don't kill people.
Right.
At the very least.
Right.
Right. And we can do more than what we're doing to prevent this situation in the first place. But Ruth, you have the clip of the family speaking?
I do. And we are going to play that right now.
You're a little rusty at the producing. I see.
Oh, would you like me to take my hands all the way off?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Again, Quamaine O'Neal was shot and killed by police after he pointed a gun directly at officers. Now, tonight, O'Neal's family is telling their side of the story. 13 ABC's Christina Williams joins us live with that. It's all new at 6. Christina.
Diane, O'Neal's family tells me that they've seen the videos not only from the Toledo Police Department, but also the video that was posted on Facebook Live. They say everything that transpired early Saturday morning at the Weiler Homes is not from the same person that they knew. Quamaine O'Neal's family is in shock. His sister insists what you see online is not the brother she knows.
What everyone's seen in that live definitely was not my brother. I have never seen so much hurt and pain in my brother the way I seen in that live.
O'Neal moved to Toledo looking for a fresh start. He met a girl, and 4 months ago, the couple had a daughter. His sister says he was a proud father and posted frequently online.
I don't know what was going on in that relationship. But that was not him. It drove him to a place that I've never seen my brother in before.
Early Saturday morning, Quamaine's girlfriend called 911, telling a dispatcher she was trapped in a bathroom with her infant child, claiming Quamaine had hit her head and was continuing to make threats. When police arrived, no one answered the door, so officers forced entry. Seconds later, O'Neal walked down the stairs with a gun pointed at officers. All 4 officers fired their weapons, killing the suspect.
Shots fired, shots fired.
Man says she and some family members saw O'Neal on Facebook Live as police were on the way to the apartment and tried to reach out.
That was so out of character of him. And I just wish I could have tried to prevent what happened.
But minutes later, her brother was gone.
I'm not agreeing with anything that my brother done that night to cause this upon himself, but at least could have shot him to at least bring him down. What if the shoe was on the other foot? What if somehow they get called to a scene not knowing that one of their family members is in this predicament? Are they going to shoot to kill them?
Toledo's police chief did address that question yesterday, saying that officers are trained to shoot and kill. Meanwhile, Chief Krull here at the Toledo Police Department also saying that he feels, given the threat to his officers, he feels as if the response was justified. Of course, this case is still under investigation. Reporting live tonight, Christina Williams, 3rd ABC Action News.
So
I've been really messed up ever since this happened, right? Because so much of the work that we do is to prevent this from happening.
okay, so
You know
first
what I mean?
things first. I definitely want to
Yeah.
let you get this out because I think that I would like to first apologize just because of the graphic nature of that clip. I was not expecting for the news to show that. Like I don't know what I was expecting, but just like seeing him come from behind that wall, hearing the gunshots, knowing what had happened in that video, that was a lot. So I feel like there should have been some form of content warning for that. So I just want to I want that to be my first statement. Okay, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, I was just speaking more generally.
Yeah.
Just whenever something like this happens, I feel like, like what more could we have done to
Right.
try to prevent this, right?
Right.
And to me, this is exactly what we've been talking about. Like this is a domestic dispute. Somebody suicidal,
Mm-hmm.
due to, whatever conflicts they were having in the home. And that doesn't need to lead or end in somebody's death.
Right. I think
Like we have to handle public safety better than that.
Yeah, I think that there were signs more than likely leading up to this. There were signs that there were definitely opportunities for there to be some mental health adjustments. There was some need for therapy. There was some need for there to be like an action before this happened. And I feel kind of bad saying this because I still don't know like all of the circumstances that led up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But what I could see was a man who had reached his limit. He had been pushed one too many times, and this was like the final straw. And I think that's where when Julian initially showed me this video or told me about this video, we both agreed that it was, I don't know if you're familiar with this term or not, but suicide by cop. When you know that cops are trained to shoot to kill, and you know that if you put yourself in harm's way in front of a police officer wielding a weapon, that they will murder you. Like outside of any sort of training, it's without a shadow of a doubt that police officers will shoot to kill if a gun is pointed at them. So the fact that he like made it to that point and made that decision on his own is heartbreaking. That's the first thing. The second thing though is like what could have, I think everyone is still trying to backtrack and figure out what could have been done differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like every solution comes the day before this situation. Like we already know that police are reactionary when it comes to violence. They don't show up to prevent anything. We already know that after a certain point in your mental health, you can't be talked down within a matter of a few minutes. Like we know once you get to that mental state, and I'm only saying this just as someone who has studied psychology, not even someone who is a practicing psychologist, but like once you get to that mental state where you are convinced that you are going to kill yourself by putting yourself in the harm's way of the police, that's a different sort of analysis of the world, right? And then even still, in I think the 911 call, the girlfriend tried to take back the fact that she had called at all.
That's the part that I really wanted to play and find. There is a part on the 911 call where the woman clearly says, "Don't come because we're black. I don't
Right.
want you to kill them."
Right.
Right. And the 911 respondent was like, "It's too late. We're
Right.
coming.
We have to come. Like, you called us, so there's nothing we can do." And that's another
That's
issue.
the part that isn't being talked about that really, really bothers me.
Yeah, because like you have to know on some level the amount of fear that goes through a black person's body to get to the point where they have to call the police. And even when you call the police and they request for the police not to show up, the fact that there is no other alternative for someone to show up to help a family that knows that if the police show up, their loved one or whomever is going to die. Why isn't there another option?
There has to be another
There
option.
has to be, because the fact that 4 officers emptied their clips into this one man,
32 shots.
32 shots, 19 hit him.
Yeah.
Like, you have to realize that there has got to be another alternative. There has got to be, because the fact is, and I don't know how this is going to make me come off, but I just I have to rationalize it like in real time. The fact that he has one gun and he shows up for one gun and is met with 4 officers' guns. I don't know. There's so much to this, and there's so much to unpack.
So
much.
Even as far as policy wise that we've been suggesting. But in short, that's a mental health crisis, and we got to deal with that better.
Right.
I can't. I'm so bothered by that.
Yeah.
Right now,
definitely. And it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to witness a human being, a black man especially, lose all hope. And that's what that video was. He lost all hope.
But what really bothers me about that is this woman who obviously has a difficult time making a decision, reasonably so, on calling the police for her safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone else may die from it.
Right.
Right. Because there was also a 4-month-old child in the home with 32 shots going off. Right.
There's that as well.
There's just got to be a better way.
And then, okay. And so then here's my other thing that's really, I know it's going to piss me off. If there is any sort of legal action that takes place on behalf of Kwame O'Neal, on behalf of his family or anything like that, I can almost guarantee you, based on what history has shown me in 2020 alone, that if any officers are found to be at fault, it's going to be the officers who missed the shots. Yeah. That's who's going to be the one that get you really shouldn't have fired those last 4 shots. Those last 4 shots went here, here, and here. Yeah. So here's my thing. Another thing with this whole situation. So I think there has been, and riddle me this.
Yeah.
Are the wireless LMHA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So public housing, right?
Correct.
Okay. So here's my thing with public housing. Public housing has been in the news a lot, and I want you to stick with me.
Yeah, and the wireless has been in the news a lot.
Right.
It's been a wildly violent summer.
It's
in Toledo.
Yeah.
And at the Weilers in general, right?
So here's my concern. And once again, this is only a surface level platform of a bigger picture. Mm-hmm. My concern is when you have high concentrated centers of violence, a lot of times it is in public housing. I'm asking the public, I'm asking the politicians, I'm asking whomever, what is the first step to curtail that level of violence? Is it resources? Is it getting people out of living on top of each other? How do you solve that? Because there's a lot of things going on right now between LMHA, between the source of income housing hearing, which we're going to have a little information about that, between what happens to the people who are left in the community once you sparse out this overpopulation of specific racial demographics, right? So I say all that to say,
I'm trying to follow you.
I know it's a lot because the whole thing falls under LMHA,
okay,
right?
Okay.
So my question is, how do we get rid of violence in public housing? Like, how do we get rid of the stigma that you shouldn't go to therapy? How do we convince them? How do we convince those community members to like really buy into therapy, really buy into mental health, really buy into community safety, really buy into having grocery stores, having access to resources? Because I feel like that's where we're missing a lot of like this key.
People ain't worried about therapy when they're worried about survival.
Exactly. So how do we make survival a relevant or a tangible thing? Like, how do we get survival to go from like, I have a place to live and I'm biting off of the fair housing.
Basic needs must be met. That's like,
so how do you meet the basic needs of the most in need population?
I know we keep hearing this week and we haven't talked about it on the podcast, but that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like, you can't expect, you know.
I love Maslow. You don't love Maslow? What's wrong with you? Hey, what's wrong with you? Hey.
But like, you can't expect people when their basic needs aren't met.
But how do we meet the basic needs of our least served populations? Like, I'm asking you to solve this question for me. Riddle me this. I need you to fix 600 years of poverty and inequality.
I mean, we have the resources. I mean, here's the thing. Part of putting the heat on me.
Yes, okay. I need you to solve this for me. It's been on my mind a lot these past couple of days.
Well, you know, there's
between finishing my master's and then coming back home.
Hey, y'all, Ruth finished her master's.
Now, solve income inequality, please.
Well, the problem is we have too much I mean, I don't want to sound like Bernie Sanders, but we have too much of the pie going to the 1%. And then as far as public money, we have too much going towards the military industrial complex.
Okay.
And we have too much like locally and municipally going towards policing.
Okay.
Right? And so when we spread the bread,
spread the bread.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
You know, we can live more equitably.
Okay.
Right? So,
okay.
I mean, to give you an oversimplistic answer to a complicated issue. But one of the cool things that happened this week was people who study up on this issue of housing and income inequality presented in front of, was it Toledo City Council?
Yes.
And Ruth, can you show me some of what they had here?
So Sarah Jenkins, shout out to her for being like the bee's knees at what she does, because this is amazing. She presented with the with the Fair Housing Community Center. I want to see if I can maybe make this a little bigger so you guys can kind of see what we're looking at. And I am so sorry, Sarah, but I don't know all of the language for how this map works. But what I do know is that in central Toledo, I believe, which is right here, you have the highest concentration of African-American and African-American families. Okay. And so each dot represents 75 people. And there is something that the pink lines represent. And I am so sorry, Sarah, that I cannot remember what exactly the pink lines represent, like which demographics. But this just goes to show you how piled on top of one another communities are as a whole. But if you look right here, this is specifically the Black community. Right. This is where we are centrally located, and
you can see the density of the population is what you're saying.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
And when you combine that with socioeconomic issues, that culminates to higher levels of crime.
Now,
it's not because Black people are more dangerous.
No. Now, what this map, or what I wasn't able to get a full screenshot of or a screen grab up. For the rest of this presentation, though, it shows basically how the use of vouchers through HUD and landlords is used to create an inequality. So landlords, according to this research, which was done, I believe, a couple of years ago, and they collected petitions for it and all that stuff. But it basically goes to show that a voucher holder can go to a landlord, and a landlord can then decide whether or not to accept that voucher. But it not only can be seen in whether or not they have a voucher, it breaks it down into all of the other demographics that landlords use vouchers to negate people's ability to rent. So if you are a say if it were myself and a white woman that were going and we both had vouchers, they could say, oh, we have a place for a white woman who has a voucher, but it would be more likely that as a black woman, I would not be able to rent from their locations using these Section 8 vouchers. So it basically goes to show you that like vouchers in housing have created an inherently racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic society that landlords hold all of this power now. And discriminating against people. And so what Fair Housing and like I want to say like 5 or 6 other organizations came to do was to create I believe it's the bill that's based on source of income housing or source of housing. And I'm sorry, the source of income housing hearing. They came together yesterday. And once again, Sarah Jenkins knocked it out of the park. Like I listened to it in the car.
What is that? What is source of income?
So what I believe it is
make it make sense.
I think it's I think it's funding for vouchers so that individuals can become homeowners. I don't know, but I really want you all to do your own research because I'm going to treat you like my kids. Tell me what it is and bring it back to me. I want to know more, but I just want to give you that little taste, a little tidbit of just some of the work that again, Sarah Jenkins, you rock, that she's doing. So here's one thing. Okay, mind you all, I'm very excited. Like I said before, I'm getting my master's tomorrow. So, but what is the name of that police building that's on Dorr Street?
Oh, so that's what I'm trying to figure out. So the one on Dorr Street, they just put up a new one, and I think it's soon going to be the state Ohio Patrol. Ohio, yeah.
Okay.
But right now it's the UT Police. Okay,
so and that's the one that's like called the Public Safety Building. Is that the one that's like right next to
Campus Poly?
Campus Poly?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my thing. City of Toledo.
And the Ohio State Patrol is the one that used to be way out on airport by the airport.
Okay. But I'm just talking about the one that's
Cleveland
next to Campus Poly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now it's moving in town.
Okay. So here's my thing. I personally believe that building, which they erected in like 2.5 months. Yeah. I think that building would have been a much better service to the community as a community center or as a community hub. Because we don't need more police. And actually, speaking of more police,
especially closer in proximity to where we're at.
Yeah, like nah.
Like where they're currently at is next to a gun store where they should be.
You think they should be next to a gun store?
Yeah.
Okay. So, riddle me this. Did you get a chance to read that full article about the bill to allow townships?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there was a bill, and I'm going to pull it up. But as I pull it up, Julian, can you tell them a little bit about what it was about?
Yeah, so essentially, like if you're going through or driving through a town, that the township police can pull you over.
Yes.
Like, so this is a big deal, especially in Perrysburg, where the state highway patrol usually get people on that part of 475. But what they're saying now is they're trying to make it so that the police of that jurisdiction can, pull you over on the highway, which is just even more invasive, and we don't need. And that'll make it so even more. What's going to happen is these country police departments are going to be able to profile more often. And it's just going to be bad.
So here's the thing. I saw quite a few things. And this is the article from The Blade. Bill would allow townships to enforce law in interstates. Yeah. So a few things jumped out to me. So number one, this bill is called Bill 539. And this is the bill that came up.
This is on the state level.
Yes, on the state level. Yeah. This is one of the last bills that have been coming up through this lame duck session, or right before the lame duck session. So this bill is eligible for townships that range anywhere from 5,000 to 50,000 individuals. So basically, if humans live in your township, then you're more than likely going to be benefit from this bill. So,
but like, there's a lot of places in Ohio that are. There's a lot of space between the cities in Ohio, but they those counties police very much don't encounter people that are diverse very
much so
it's a problem waiting to happen.
So one of the issues that was first brought up in this particular bill was from, let's see, Mr. Ganbari. On Friday, it said, in response to suggestions that the bill represents a money grab on the part of the townships, which was one of the first things that I thought. Yep. He stated that townships can only write citations for violations of state laws, unlike cities and villages, which have the choice of writing citations under state law or their own municipal codes. So I was like, okay, so now you just have more state troopers, but who haven't been, trained to be a state trooper, but okay.
You know what's interesting about this is I'm pretty sure, isn't there somebody that was against it?
Oh, no. Hold on. That's the best part.
Okay.
That's the best part.
Okay.
That's the best part. Do you know who's against it?
Yes.
Okay, that's my favorite part.
Yes.
Okay, so, and then it said that the fines that come from this ORC.
I was trying to figure out where you were going with that.
Oh, yeah. So they're going to go straight to the treasury for the highway and for maintenance funds. So, they can fix the roads. Policing
for profit.
Yes.
When you center profit around public safety, it's a great way to make sure safety isn't achieved.
Yeah.
Because...
So the last part of this entire article actually is my favorite part. Julian, would you like to read it?
Sure.
You started rap.
So it says the bill faced no opposition in committee. It received support from Wood County, the Fraternal Order of Police, and the Ohio Township Association, among others. Representative Paula Hicks Hudson, Democrat of Toledo, cast the sole negative vote among Northwest Ohio's delegation last week. I don't think it's necessary, she said. I think it would create confusion between the highway patrol and local township officials. The state highway is the providence of the state, although we do have municipalities as a part of that. The bottom line is, I think we are over policing.
Oh, boom. Shout out to Representative Paula Hicks Hudson. Yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah, goodness gracious, I love her. She's pretty awesome.
And I love it when our reps represent us well.
Yeah.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. Yeah. You want someone to be the person who will be the only no vote on something that is just harmful to an entire community of people.
Yeah.
Yes, she gets it.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to take a quick break.
And can I just add something on that? Yeah. It's great when you don't have to necessarily constantly keep tabs on a politician's every decision.
Yes.
You can read about a story and then
just find out
they
got it right,
that your rep represented you well, and then it's nice to have that. There are some really good public servants out there. I do believe Paul Hicks Hudson is one of them. So thank you for representing us.
Yes, indeed.
I'm Julian.
And I'm Ruth.
And we'll be back in just a minute with more Together United. And we're going to play a quick clip on our break from the Breathe Act, from the Movement for Black Lives. So that's what you're about to hear now. Go ahead and check it
out. Breathe. To be alive.
And most diverse movement in the history of the world. And we are determined to create a future in which we don't have to imagine. Let me show you how.
The Breathe Act starts by ending federal funding of the police and moving to divert funds away from the punitive agencies like ICE and the DEA. No more tanks rolling through our city streets, no more children in cages, no more over-policing of Black and brown neighborhoods, like sentences over dime bags. No more wrongful convictions of innocent people, while abusers with money are left to go free again and again and again.
So
this system, designed only to punish and cage, is not keeping us safe. It is not working for us.
Pull Chick-fil-A down.
The Breathe Act isn't only about defunding. In fact, that's just the beginning. Where are we going to put our money instead of police and prisons? By establishing federal incentives for cities and states, the next part of Breathe allows communities to create new, non-carceral models of public safety on their own terms. These could be healing justice programs, violence and abuse interruption programs, or job opportunities for formerly incarcerated people like me. The Breathe Act would allow these ideas to grow and expand.
We're about to start back.
So the thing that makes the Breathe Act really exciting is that it goes beyond the scope of how we traditionally view public safety. It's important that the right person shows up in an emergency. And we also need to build infrastructure to ensure that our communities are able to thrive day in and day out. That means access to healthy food and good jobs that pay a living wage and cleaning up our neighborhoods that have been poisoned for generations. That means providing housing to families, children, and all of our people who've been living in tents and in cars and who've been sleeping on the streets. That means disrupting the school to prison pipeline and making sure that our children have access to quality schools that are nurturing, safe,
when it goes to my
supportive.
personal page, I can't see the comments.
And that means economic innovation in communities, including piloting universal basic income programs.
Some of these names you know, many you don't. Each of these people died at the hands of our criminal legal system. They were loved, they were cherished, and their lives mattered. Their deaths have moved me and many others to fight with everything we have to end police violence and to make the Breathe Act a reality. That's why Breathe calls for reparations and accountability to the Black community and all those impacted by state violence. Repairing the harm done already is not a footnote, but an essential measure for progress. Finally, Breathe includes provisions to enhance self-determination in Black communities by strengthening voting rights and ensuring that all Americans are able to have a voice in our democracy. In the words of the late, great John Lewis, let us walk together with extraordinary vision and go make some necessary good trouble.
Play the live purchase. That's cool. Whatever you want. That's what coming back.
Do it. You can. Do you can. Your life matters to me. Is my life matters to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself.
Woo! And we
Yeah!
back. And we back.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I hope you're wearing a mask.
If you're not, fall back. Check yourself.
Fall back
And check yourself. Fall back and check yourself.
Wear a mask for me.
Oh yes. So yeah. So shout out to Dr. Perryman and the Center of Hope for their fantastic Center of Hope Prevention PSA to make sure that we're all staying safe during this time. So okay.
Columbus.
So I think we should give you guys like the backstory.
Yeah.
Okay. So the backstory is there was a gentleman named Casey Goodson. And Casey Goodson was 23 years old, and he was murdered by police inside his Ohio home on December 4th. And he had just walked through the front door after returning from a dentist appointment when the Franklin County Sheriff's deputy, Jason Meade, shot him in the back 3 times. Allegedly, Deputy Jason Meade had just finished an unsuccessful search for violent suspects in the area when the shooting took place. Casey was not a possible suspect, nor was he wanted by law enforcement prior to his murder. He was not, involved in the search in any way, shape, or form.
He was killed in cold blood.
Yes, indeed. His autopsy revealed that it was, or ruled his death a homicide. Despite the fact that he was killed in cold blood.
So they tried to say that he was carrying a gun, and he does have a CCW, but he wasn't holding a gun at the time of the shooting. He was holding a Subway sandwich.
Yes, and at this point, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of everything being mistaken for a gun. Like everything, wallets, cell phones, keys,
But that's the thing.
joysticks, toys. Everything is always a gun. It's always a gun.
Kyle Rittenhouse walked right past let
a white man have a gun.
A bunch of police
Well,
with
you
a
know
gun
what? He got saluted.
right after he killed somebody. Right?
And there was no okay.
Wow.
Either way, so there are a few actions that are taking place. The
How your
first one,
sandwich look like a gun?
So,
It
first
is.
things first. Before we get to the event that is taking place right now and that will be taking place tomorrow, I want to make sure that everyone is made aware of the petition. That's where I was reading all of this information. I believe it is #Justice for Casey. If you go on colorofchange.org, you can read all of this information. You can read the petition language. It says, I'm standing in solidarity with the family of Casey Goodson, the city of Columbus, in color of change to demand justice for Casey. 23-year-old Casey Goodson Jr. was murdered by police inside of his Ohio home on December 4th.
He was shot in the back 3 times.
Three times.
That's
shot in the back 3 times in his own house. And apparently his grandmother, his 5-year-old brother, and his 3-year-old cousin were also in the house. So, colorofchange.org, #Justice for Casey. You can sign the petition. But if you were looking at WTOL,
there's action going on in Columbus right now.
And this is just,
and will be going on tomorrow as well.
Right.
So
we're gonna let you guys just see kind of what's happening downtown, and then we'll give you the information for the action taking place tomorrow.
So, I mean, I just want to say I think I'm proud of our comrades in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, they are organized and really leading the way in Ohio in a lot of ways,
right,
as far as being progressive. So this is from what, about an hour ago?
No, this is live, I believe.
Okay.
I believe this is still going live.
But so okay.
All right.
So I think what's important, what's important to realize, I think, in all of these conversations is that our current safety model isn't working.
Right.
And in the way that, even if they aren't bad police officers, right, the way that the institution functions and America functions in so many other ways just is not sustainable.
Right.
And it's not working. And, so when people are talking about defunding the police or, any kind of serious reforms, we have to put more money into the things that prevent crime,
right,
not just responding to it, right? And there's simply too much power and a lack of accountability with law enforcement, period, right? Whether they act in the right or act in the wrong, right? It still remains true that they're too powerful and influential of an entity that has no consequences, right? And can function in that way. And so, it's something that needs to happen. We have to restructure safety and in the way,
definitely,
how we consider safety,
definitely,
or what we consider to be safe.
So for tomorrow, it looks like there's going to be a day of peaceful protest in solidarity with Columbus, Ohio, and it's taking place in Columbus.
Yeah.
So there are, from what I can tell, 2 different ways that you can participate in this action. Now, of course, tonight's action was
spontaneous.
I mean, it brought the people out. I mean, there are some people who work within timetables and schedules, and there are others.
If there's anybody watching from Columbus and you're going out, please be safe tonight.
Yes. For sure. So for anyone who's interested in going out tomorrow, there will be the National Call to Action for Casey Goodson Jr., December 12th at 12 p.m. They would like you to join them for a day of peaceful protest in solidarity with Columbus, Ohio. It will take place at the Ohio State House, which is 1 Capitol Square in Columbus, Ohio, 43215. The hashtags that are being used are Justice for Casey Goodson Jr., We Stand with Tank, and Black Lives Matter. Okay. In addition, there is information. Oh, let's see if I can pull it up.
You got all the information.
I do. Okay, so if you are interested in what the demands are for anyone who is interested in traveling down or over to Columbus, the demands for Casey Goodson are as follows. The immediate
termination, arrest, and indictment of Jason Meade for the murder of Casey Goodson Jr., revocation of Jason Meade's pension, immediate release of evidence to Casey's mother, Tamala Payne, Franklin County Sheriff's Department to cover the funeral expenses of Casey Goodson Jr., fire the Columbus Police Chief, Thomas Quinlan, for negligence in failing to contact Ohio BCI in a timely manner, commitment from Franklin County Commissioners to divest from Franklin County Sheriff's Office, and commitment from Columbus City Council to divest from Columbus Police. So, I mean, go ahead, Ruth. I mean, when these things happen, I mean, I always learn, right, from our other comrades on where to put the pressure and how to put the pressure on. I mean, what's frustrating about it is replaying Black Death over and over and over again, right? And staying plugged in that kind of way is a lot. It's a lot.
So, when we talk about defunding the police, I'm just going to push it back that way. This is exactly what we are talking about. We are talking about the fact that there are police departments across this county, across the state, across this nation, operating throughout the world, who are wholly and adequately prepared to engage with individuals in a way that does not result in that individual's death. There is absolutely no reason why someone who had absolutely nothing to do with anything that was happening in regards to police interactions was murdered. Furthermore, because their sandwich was thought to have been a weapon. Their sandwich? You mean to tell me that in all of your training, like, I don't get, like, okay, so I've had friends who have told me that police training is not the solution. It's just severely inadequate and inept people who are becoming police officers or who are police officers. Like, you can't tell the difference between a Subway sandwich and a weapon. Like, and there's nothing in between it. Like, okay, I get it. America loves his guns.
It's hard. It's hard.
Like, no, because I'm putting it in the same, in the same mental space as the Quamaine O'Neal situation. Like, I can't continue to hold these two wholly and equal operations of life in the same headspace. Like, but it is. It's all America. Like, if you have a gun, they're going to kill you hard. If you don't have a gun, they're going to kill you. Pick one. Like I
You're
can't
gonna say you do, right?
I can't. Oof.
Yeah. So so that's not the only thing that's going on in Toledo or Ohio. Actually, Ruth, you want to let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Kind of regroup. We'll be back in about 1 minute, 2 minutes. Play the
okay.
Wear a mask. Don't forget to wear a mask.
Okay.
We'll be right back though.
Yes.
You don't want to miss the next story. All right.
Alrighty. Yeah. So we are going to play the newest bop out of Toledo from our very own Dr. Perryman.
Y'all don't forget to wear a mask.
Do you care? Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. So Toledo made national news this week again for something that you all may not have known about.
You can have
or heard of. Now, here's the thing.
Is this Fox News?
I know that, it's not the most progressive thing to go to Chick-fil-A.
It's not.
Right? And I also know that a lot of y'all be lying about going to Chick-fil-A. So here is a story from Fox News that came out this week about here in Toledo, Ohio. Oh.
Let's talk on it.
All right. Here we go. So essentially what's going on is if you look at the Chick-fil-A, and this is the Chick-fil-A on Secor Road, the line is so long that they're being sued. They're being sued by the liquor store, ironically, in the same place.
Jesus versus chicken.
Yeah, because essentially they can't. There's not enough room. Like the line for Chick-fil-A is so ridiculous. Folks can't park for anything else there. Right, and so they're being sued for that right now, and it's wild.
So, okay.
Go ahead. And this is from Fox News.
So here's my thing. Toledo, I love y'all because y'all make national news for the funniest things. And that's why I love Toledo, because it's always these weird moments when everything is really quiet and it's just oh, Atlanta has news about Toledo, and it's just oh, what y'all do? So first things first, that's funny. But here's my take on the whole Chick-fil-A.
You want to finish explaining what's going on here?
That's what I'm doing with my take.
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, you have the shopping center, and then you have Chick-fil-A, and then you have all of these other little stores, right? Because it's a little mall thing. And the liquor store that apparently just opened or is opening.
It hasn't even opened yet.
But it bought like the business that's on the far inside of the parking of the shopping center. So the liquor store that's opening there, I guess they realized that Chick-fil-A has a maze of a line that goes around and then you go up and then you go up and then you turn left and then you get to the line to like talk to somebody from Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, it like goes, it's a maze
through.
that goes through the parking lot.
And it's the full parking lot, right? Yeah. So it's like if you take those 2 rows where you can have 2 sets of cars, it's like 1, 2, 3, I think it's 4 of them. So you can fit 4 rows of 8 cars through the maze. Basically, the owner of, I think it's Ohio Beverages, filed a suit against Chick-fil-A because they like, y'all chicken is too good because people keep coming and they taking up all of these spaces. So could y'all like not have good chicken?
Yo, what's wild is it's in proximity of Popeyes. And it's in proximity of Krispy Kreme, which just opened, right? Like,
so the liquor store is basically upset that Chick-fil-A bought the entire parking lot so that they could have space for their cars to go through and basically stake claim to it. And because their cars regularly fill up that entire parking lot, Chick-fil-A is like, nah, we good. But Ohio Beverage Center, they don't even want money. They just want the solution. They want them to just not have as many people. And so Chick-fil-A responded and was just like, but y'all can order in now. So
yeah, that's what they added. They added order in.
You're like, good luck.
But it's insanely long.
So, I just want to know how this is going to come through.
Chick-fil-A is going to win.
Oh, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A is going to win.
But the fact, okay, so here's my fact, or here's my my love for all of this. Why do you think this made national news?
Because because this country is obviously in love with Chick-fil-A.
Oh gosh,
more than I'm proud to say.
Liquor.
It's Chick-fil-A versus a liquor store, which ideologically, right, like from the owner's perspective, I find that to be a bit ironic.
What if they partnered and then Chick-fil-A started serving wine?
What if the liquor store sold wine on Sundays at Chick-fil-A?
There you go. They could have because when I initially saw how much space Chick-fil-A took up, I thought that it was like preparing. What are those things called? The revivals. Man, it looks like they are setting up for a revival
because they got the tents.
Parking space. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that the liquor store should partner and just throw all the sin in it. Just put all of the sin you can in this big bucket.
Or how about like, I don't know, man. How about Chick-fil-A just be under new management and they not be such a terrible company?
Who would be a good manager for Chick-fil-A? Instead of Jesus?
No, the person who used to own Little Caesars, who paid for
Rosa Parks'
funeral. That would be lit.
Okay, that's who I vote for.
But I'm tired of because Chick-fil-A is good, but I'm tired of feeling guilty because of all the they do so much so many toxic things with their money. Not only are they wildly publicly homophobic, right? Mm-hmm. But they the Focus on the Family group that they're connected with essentially goes. I did not realize this.
Chick-fil-A is managed by the devil himself. Okay, let's just.
But when people go, when people witness religiously in another country, I can't remember what the term.
When they do what?
When they witness to somebody in another country,
like a Jehovah's Witness?
No.
You're thinking of. Come on, help us out, people.
I'm trying to think.
What's it called? When you go and missionaries.
Missionaries, yeah.
Yes.
So here's the thing. right? And this is not to get too deep on Chick-fil-A today, but in a lot of ways, and let me just preface this by saying I'm a Christian, right? But there's some problematic things that, quote unquote, the church has done. And one of them, a big thing, is colonizing Africa, right? Like, so the way that a lot of countries get their foothold in these places is it starts off with
missionaries.
It starts off with missionaries, right? Build relationships, schools, stuff like that, good stuff, right? But it eventually leads to other entities coming in and exploiting them for their resources.
Right.
And so, like, when we look at a lot of impoverished nations, you have to watch for that going on, right? Because it's you
think you showing up to help build schools and give water to small children. Next thing you know, you trying to indoctrinate them with Jesus and the 12, not the 12 wise men, the disciples, and you trying to get them to cast down their belief system in order to pick up yours, and no one wants that. No one. Let them live their lives.
So a lot of that is funded by
Chick-fil-A,
the political arm of Chick-fil-A, which is focused on the family, which does a lot of wildly like homophobic and flat out like racist stuff.
Right.
And funds up that right-wing, religious right-wing arm of the Republican Party. Right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So,
because there's a whole thing, and shout out to my niece who's doing research on this. I think, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. It's like the family, family
Focus
something.
Focus on the family.
No, but that's not what the name of the organization is. Okay. But it's basically the same thing, where they're this great big interest group that's focused on the qualities of a true American family, where it's like you gotta have God, then the what is it? God, church, Christ, family. And that's all you need in order to live a good life. And it's like, bruh, there's a couple other things in there, but it's so rooted in like religion and the practices that it doesn't have any of the practicalities of just being a good person. It's all like,
Right.
So, in other words,
cis hetero patriarchy.
Yes, give me all the hyphen.
Normative.
Yes.
Toxic culture, something like that. I didn't get all the magic words together,
but you got a lot of them. You got a lot of them.
So like, I'm all about taking what we see on a global level and making it local. Right. So like that was a long way of explaining how the
Chick-fil-A got sued,
the corporate power of Chick-fil-A,
right,
and how it affects us, like, for people who are just trying to sell some liquor, sell some spirits, and how it affects like global international
economic
conflict.
Global relations.
Right, exactly, right. Like, it's all connected.
Either way, I hope the liquor store wins.
You know what? Me too. Yep.
All right. So with all of that, we're going to take a quick break. Enjoy this video once again from the Breathe Act.
So when people talk about like what are the legislative things we want to see on a national level from the Black Lives Matter movement, or like funding police is just an idea, what about actual legislation?
Right.
So this is the Breathe Act, which is the actual legislation we want to see on a federal level. Whenever Ruth decides to press play.
You were talking the whole time.
Breathe. To be alive, remain alive, breathe. To feel free of restraint, breathe. Is this what liberation tastes like? Breathe. Fresh air exposition, breathe. Rest after exertion, I can't breathe.
Hold up! It doesn't have to be like this. Imagine What if Richard had been met with a tow truck in that parking lot instead of an armed police officer?
You okay?
Or what if Brianna and Ayana had slept peacefully through the night instead of being murdered in their beds? Or if a mental health professional had responded to the call about Kayla? What if they would have just let Elijah dance? What if my brother Monty got the treatment he needed instead of a jail cell? We are the largest and most diverse movement in the history of the world, and we are determined to create a future in which we don't have to imagine. Let me show you how.
The BREATHE Act starts by ending federal funding of the police and moving to divert funds away from the punitive agencies like ICE and the DEA. No more tanks rolling through our city streets, no more children in cages, no more over-policing of Black and brown neighborhoods, life sentences over dime bags, no more wrongful convictions of innocent people, while abusers with money are left to go free again and again and again. This system, designed only to punish and cage, is not keeping us safe. It is not working for us.
The BREATHE Act isn't only about defunding. In fact, that's just the beginning. Where are we going to put our money instead of police and prisons? By establishing federal incentives for cities and states, the next part of BREATHE allows communities to create new, non-carceral models of public safety on their own terms. These could be healing justice programs, violence and abuse interruption programs, or job opportunities for formerly incarcerated people like me. The BREATHE Act would allow these ideas to grow and expand.
So the thing that makes the BREATHE Act really exciting is that it goes beyond the scope of how we traditionally view public safety. It's important that the right person shows up in an emergency. And we also need to build infrastructure to ensure that our communities are able to thrive day in and day out. That means access to healthy food and good jobs that pay a living wage and cleaning up our neighborhoods that have been poisoned for generations. That means providing housing to families, children, and all of our people who've been living in tents and in cars and who've been sleeping on the streets. That means disrupting the school to prison pipeline and making sure that our children have access to quality schools that are nurturing, safe, and supportive. And that means economic innovation in communities, including piloting universal basic income programs.
Some of these names you know, many you don't. Each of these people died at the hands of our criminal legal system. They were loved, they were cherished, and their lives mattered. Their deaths have moved me and many others to fight with everything we have to end police violence and to make the BREATHE Act a reality. That's why BREATHE calls for reparations and accountability to the Black community and all those impacted by state violence. Repairing the harm done already is not a footnote, but an essential measure for progress. Finally, BREATHE includes provisions to enhance self-determination in Black communities by strengthening voting rights and ensuring that all Americans are able to have a voice in our democracy. In the words of the late, great John Lewis, let us walk together with extraordinary vision and go make some necessary good trouble.
I was scared you were going to delete it again.
No, I wasn't going to delete it. Welcome back, y'all.
Hey, guys.
I'm Julian.
And I'm Ruth.
Welcome back to Together United.
Yes, indeed. So
what you just saw was a video about the Breathe Act, right? Which I think is important to stress that that's this generation's civil rights legislation, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something like we all have our work we have to do on a local level and on a statewide level, but on a national level, it reflects the values of the thousands, millions of people who have taken to the streets this summer and in so many years past. And I say that, you know, just to remind folks, that's where the energy is, right? The people that won this election agree with what was said right there on the Breathe Act, right? So when so it's really a mandate that Joe Biden and the Congress pull up that legislation. But before that happens, we have to figure out who won the Senate.
So I am very interested in this Senate race. More so this week, I think, than I have been in previous weeks, only because I'm just like, I'm coming across more information.
So right now, the race is at the Senate has 100 people. It's 48 to 50. 48 Democrats, 50 Republicans. So, and there's 2 seats up, which never happens, right? At the same time.
Yes, because there's a runoff.
Well, no, not even just because of the fact that it's a runoff. Like the fact that 2 Senate seats are open at the same time in the same state is just really rare.
Okay.
Right? Like usually senators don't get elected at the same time. I think it's because one of them left. And that's how Loeffler got appointed.
Okay.
All right. But so the Democrats have to win both in order to have the majority in the House and the Senate.
Yes.
It's a really big deal because we know that Republicans will, Mitch McConnell, if he's still in charge of the Senate, will hold up everything, right? And we've seen his playbook all throughout Obama's first and second term. All right, there's nothing's going to get done. All right, we at least, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on, I think, let somebody govern.
Right.
You know what I mean? And vote on whether or not you think they did a good job. But just to be completely obstructionist is bad news.
He's a garbage human being.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way I can describe it.
So this all comes down to Georgia, right? And then there's a runoff election. So essentially it's like overtime, right? It's how I explain what's going on in national politics right now. It's overtime. And so there's 2 races in between Reverend Warnock and Kelly Loeffler. And the other is between John Ossoff and David Perdue.
Some other guy.
All right. So we're going to play the first clip from they had their first debate this week, Loeffler and Warnock.
Ossoff had a debate as well.
We'll get to that. Warnock, though, is the pastor of
a church.
No, it's the same church Martin Luther King, Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Yes.
Yes, it's the same church Martin Luther King was over. All right, so here we go.
You were not about to slander me for not knowing
I'm not
everything
slandering
about
you.
everything. It felt like a slander.
No, I'm not slandering you.
It felt like I felt attacked. Okay. Uh-oh. All right.
No free advertising.
Did Donald Trump lose a recent presidential election?
You know, President Trump has every right to use every legal recourse available. In our own state, we've seen time and again that we have investigations that need to be completed. Everything's at stake on January 5th for the future of our country. If the Democrats win, they will defund the police. They'll keep our country locked down. They want more lockdowns. They'll
Yeah, I heard the question.
Okay.
The question was, okay, hold on. Let me just, so they can see our faces.
All right.
Okay. Reverend Warnock asked Loeffler.
Yes.
Loeffler.
Yes.
Did President Trump win the election?
Okay. Can we hear that from the top?
Oh, from the top? Sure.
I just want to hear it from the top one more time.
From the top. Did President Trump win?
Did Donald Trump lose a recent presidential election?
You know, President Trump has every right to use every legal recourse available. In our own state, we've seen time and again that we have investigations that need to be completed. Everything's at stake on January 5th for the future of our country. If the Democrats win, they will defund the police. They'll keep our country locked down. They want more lockdowns. They'll raise your taxes in the middle of a pandemic.
Reverend Warnock, 30 seconds.
You know, I've been moving all across this state, especially going to rural areas. And when I go to these small towns, they're surprised that I'm there. I'm surprised that they're surprised they haven't seen a U.S. senator. And they're wondering why their hospitals are closing. Why Kelly Loeffler doesn't think it's a good idea to make sure that they have health care in the middle of a pandemic. We refuse to expand Medicaid in the state. 9 of our hospitals are have closed, and they're wondering who in Washington is looking out for them. They're wondering when in the world are they going to get some COVID-19 relief? They haven't gotten any from Kelly Loeffler in months. And when she had a chance to stand up for ordinary people, she thought $600 was too much. Meanwhile, she was busy dumping millions of dollars of stock, profiting from a pandemic. Who does that?
Her.
Whose man's is this? Right?
What was the other one?
So go ahead. Go ahead, Ruth. All right. So one, Kelly Loeffler is like a robot, right? Like she reminds me of like a Republican robot. Like there is a Warnock is with the radical left, right? Defund the police. And it's just low-key hilarious to me. I watched the whole debate and I didn't get on Twitter at all. And I was just sitting here like, man, does anybody else see this? And then I finally got on. Yeah, she's like a Android or iPhone, like Siri, with like Republican talking points.
Yes.
So it's wild. It's wild. So go ahead. Give me your impression of her.
So she has been a train wreck from the very beginning in a way that I am just excited to watch her I can't look away. Okay, so here's my first thing about her. In the midst of that debate, there was a part of it, and I'm so upset at the fact that I can't find the clip where Warnock tries to use a sermon. No, I'm sorry. Loeffler?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Loeffler. Linda tried to use a quote. I don't care. The white lady tried to use a quote from Reverend Warnock's his sermon. And did not know what she was talking about because she tried to equate like loving liberty or loving life can't be done at the same time as being a fan of war. And Reverend Warnock broke it down the first way. And then she tried to come back and say, well, you don't believe in abortion, so why should the people support you? And he just brought it all the way around. He was like, oh no, I firmly believe in life, but I also believe in the right to choose. And his quote that, oh my gosh, I'm going to get it tattooed like on my forearm, a little small, not as big as my Stacey Abrams tattoo, but a little small tattoo. And the quote that he said is, there's not enough space in a patient's room for a woman, a doctor, and the entire U.S. government. And that just sealed it for me. So it's just like, just put him in there and we can work with him. We can work with him. Look, Warnock got a couple little kinks here and there, like, you know, he did that one commercial with all the police officers, but it's like we can steer him out of that much easier than we can.
Better than robot Kelly Loeffler. So this is something that this highlighted a really historical time within the Republican Party, which I think is important. Obviously, the head of the Republican Party for the past 4 years, Donald Trump, is on this narrative of fake news, acting like he didn't lose the election.
I have never seen a president lose so many states repeatedly,
right?
Like he won, he lost to Wisconsin again.
Yeah, they counted at least 3 times the votes in Georgia. And so there's this, and mind you, the voter suppression in Georgia is real. And like Brian Kemp did that when he, I'm pretty sure that's his name. Yeah, when he's the governor, when he ran against Stacey Abrams in 2018.
He ruined.
Right. So the way that they did that time, I believe, is they purged a bunch of people off the rolls. Right. So people, same thing they do in Ohio. So people needed to re-register.
Because it's a use it or lose it. But even still, they can purge you for different reasons. Like I got purged, I think 2 years after I moved here, after I had voted in all of the elections. And 2 years after I moved here, I found out that I was purged and I hadn't changed anything. I hadn't changed my address. I hadn't
purging shouldn't even be a thing because we shouldn't even have to register to vote, right?
Exactly.
Like you should have to
turn
opt,
18.
You should have to opt out if you don't want to vote, not opt in if you want to vote, right? Like that's.
But okay, so I feel like
so much energy that's
track.
wasted on that. Okay.
So
bring me back.
Well, yeah, because you jumped over one in order to get to the other. Like you jumped over Ossoff to try to get to Brown.
Oh no! So back to Reverend Warnock. So no, well, here's why that was such an important question that she was answering because like what reality are you living in? Right. So that's what I was coming back to, right? And are these people going to completely deny the reality of fact for somebody that is not president anymore? And here's the thing is, where does one's loyalty lie? Does it lie with one's governor?
It lies with Trump.
Or does it lie with Trump?
It lies with Trump. It's only going to change after Biden gets sworn in. I think that that Biden's election, like when Biden swears in, that will be the time that we see an actual like, okay, all right, we're Republicans. We don't believe in Trump as much as we said we did. We was joking. We was playing. We was lying. Julian, keep talking.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's just important that we see how all of this magnifies on top of each other, right? So as far as so that's just part of it. But like, what reality are you going to live in, right? What is going to be your truth? And there's some things that aren't debatable, like Donald Trump lost the election. And the thing is are we going to continue to have candidates that don't live in reality, right? And meanwhile, both of these candidates, opponents, so both of the incumbents, use classified information to dump stock to make the money on Wall Street, right? And so that's part of the reason why you'll see what you'll see in this next clip with the other race, which is John Ossoff and versus David Perdue. So I'm going to check out what happened at this debate.
For the U.S. Senate seat currently held by Senator David Perdue of Georgia. The candidates are in alphabetical order. Democrat John Ossoff. He is CEO of Insight TWI, a media production company that investigates corruption, organized crime, and war crimes for international news organizations. Republican David Perdue has served in the U.S. Senate since 2015. Before his election, he sat on the board of 5 major corporations and co-founded Perdue Partners, a global trading company. Senator Perdue declined to participate in this debate and is represented by an empty podium.
Well, it's a strange situation to be asking a question of a sitting United States senator who is not here to debate as he asks for the votes of the people to be reelected. Senator Perdue, I suppose, doesn't feel that he can handle himself in debate, or perhaps is concerned that he may incriminate himself in debate, both of which, in my opinion, are disqualifying for a U.S. senator seeking re-election. He may not wish to be asked questions, for example, about his trades in Regions Bank, while he championed legislation to benefit the firm or his trading of defense contractor stocks while he directed taxpayer dollars to them. But whatever the reason that Senator Perdue is not with us today, I think what I would ask him is why he continues to oppose $1,200 stimulus checks for the American people at this moment of crisis. If I had the opportunity to ask the senator a question, if the senator were not too much of a coward to debate in public, then that's what I'd ask him.
All right. Thank
you. Yo, so can we just talk about for a second how hilarious it looks to see an empty podium? I would like to
they introduced the empty podium.
I would just like to thank the Georgia Press Club for that wonderful visual.
That level of pettiness. Oh, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
That was awesome.
Oh man.
That's that's what they should do more of. Right? Like I remember they should have just had a cardboard cutout. That would have been awesome too.
Like we did for who did we do with Flat Round?
Yeah, like we did for our senator, Rob Portman, who has never shown up at the Toledo office. Ever. Not once.
They said when I went in to ask them where he was, they said it was more likely for me to run into him at a grocery store in Washington, D.C. than to see him in the Toledo office. So that tells you all you need to know about that. When it comes to Georgia's election is when?
January 5th.
Yes, January 5th. So we have, I think we have a lot of really good people who are on the ground right now, who are working to not only make sure that individuals are registered to vote, but to make sure that they know when to go to participate in this next election and just how to remain civically engaged. I think we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to see a clip from...
Oh, we're off that already? I was gonna say real quick before we get off of Georgia.
Well, no, we're gonna come back and still be on Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a quick break, and we will see you in just a few.
You're watching Together United with Julian and Ruth.
Yes.
Or listening to,
Together
depending
United.
on your platform.
You care?
There we go. All right.
Do you care? Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It's the same for you. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself.
Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Wear a mask for me.
It's you. All right.
All right.
So we have one more thing to talk about in Georgia. And although there are plenty of organizations that are going on at this time, I think that one person who stands out in particular for me is a woman named Latasha Brown. And I was scrolling through Twitter earlier this week, and one of the things that I noticed is she was talking about them closing polling locations.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I want to say maybe 3 years ago, Lucas County did something similar where they closed a bunch of polling locations and they just kind of just sent the information out and was just like, all right, do with it what you will, but these places are still closing. And I remember having flyers out so that everybody knew, like, if you voted at this place, double check to make sure that you weren't moving. But now to see kind of how the type of power play that really is to close polling locations. Like on some level, I knew it was a power play, but then I think on another level, I interpreted it as just get the information out there. But yeah, it's a lot. It's
let's play this clip and
but yeah, this comes from Latasha Brown.
Oh, go ahead.
This comes from Latasha Brown, and she said, Republicans ain't going to do right. I told y'all on MSNBC to expect the closing of polling sites in Georgia to restrict voting access. As predicted, they're planning to close over half of the polling sites in Cobb County for early voting. They're shameless, but we are determined.
Hey, y'all, I just received information about the closing of polling sites throughout the state of Georgia. I would claim that I am psychic because on this past Sunday on MSNBC, I told y'all, the audience, that there was going to be an attempt to close polling sites, right? But it's not that I'm psychic. It's just that the Republicans are quite consistent about two things: racism and voter suppression. And so we're looking in Cobb County where there were 11 polling sites, and now they're slated to close over half of 7 of the polling sites, some of them in African American and Latina Latinx communities, right? That's not because there's not a need. It's intentional, right, to really be able to restrict access to voters, particularly voters of color. But I'm so glad that there's organizations like the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights and NAACP Legal Defense Fund and ACLU and others, and Black Voters Matter, that are on top of it. We're watching it. There are groups that are organizing around it. But I want to say that we have to pay attention because these folks are literally trying to steal, really, and undermine democracy.
Yeah, and so what's so wild about that to me is how the contradictory nature of that, of like complaining about, I guess, getting the most votes not translating into a victory,
right?
While simultaneously suppressing the vote in largely urban areas, which are Black and people of color, right? So it's like they're still up to their old tricks. Like they're not missing a beat,
right?
You know what I mean?
And they're not going to. And that's the thing. You have to continuously be ready to fight against whatever the Republican Party throws against you, but you also have to be prepared to push the Democratic Party a little bit further so that they don't allow the Republican Party to come and reshape the messaging and pull them in their direction. So it's oh, goodness gracious. I'm going to get more on that in a little bit too. But yeah, like I was saying, I think it's just really important to pay attention. We're dealing with Republicans who want a win. I will say, though, it is, I want to say that a similar thing happened to AOC when she was running, and I may be wrong about this, but I want to say that the person that she was running against didn't show up for one of the debates. I think something similar happened, and I don't know if that's like a caveat of winning when the other person just doesn't have it in them to continue to fight for the position. But either way, y'all still got to make sure you go out and you vote if you're eligible in the January 5th
if Georgia you know anybody
election.
In Georgia,
yes, if you know anyone in Georgia,
make sure they vote, because this is for all the marbles. So essentially, Democrats need to win both in order to bring it to 50-50.
Right.
And then that would make Kamala Harris really the most influential vice president in American history. I don't think it's ever been locked at 50-50 before. I don't think that's ever happened. I think they've been tied at votes 50-50, but I don't think it's been just a straight up down the middle split.
Okay.
Right.
So actually, speaking of Biden, or is there something else you want to talk about? Okay. So as we all may know, I went home to Maryland and I picked up a handy dandy Washington Post.
What's that?
Oh my gosh. This is
I heard of the Washington Post. I didn't realize it came in physical form.
Yes, this is a newspaper.
All
boys
right.
and girls. And this one cost approximately $2 American. Okay. And it has lots of information in here. Like apparently canines or, German shepherds that police departments use are dangerous. The dogs bite the suspects and often do not let go. Also, homemade drones power Turkey's bid for influence. Read more about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you have in mind to talk about with this?
So we're just gonna skip that one? Okay.
Paper, big paper.
We're just gonna skip the fact that Turkey is now making homemade drones. All right. Cool. Okay. All right.
Yeah. What
just know I brought it up, so just in case. But no.
Just know we don't always discuss everything we're gonna talk about on this show, and this is
I'm just saying, Turkey got homemade drones. No, but there was this really interesting article about the left's breakout stars that are fighting to shape the Democratic agenda.
Ooh.
And then there was another article that kind of flowed into it, and it says pics show Biden's determination to bring in diverse voices.
Tell me more about the first article.
Okay, so in the first article,
I want to hear more about these diverse voices.
Yes, it talks about basically this new crop of congressmen and congresswomen who are coming up underneath the squad.
Okay.
But who are still in that Justice Democrat kind of headspace. So those are individuals like Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Mondaire Jones, and then a woman whose name I'm not familiar with, but Pramila Jayapal.
Jayapal.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
She's not new though.
Oh, okay. Well, I think she was just mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's in charge of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee.
Yeah. She was one of the. She endorsed Bernie.
Okay. But basically what it's saying is that, well, I guess she's more like a Justice Democrat though.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what it's saying is that Biden has his first 100 days. And I realized in reading this that a lot of the executive actions that Biden is planning on writing or creating are just negations of all of the executive orders that Trump did. Right. So it's to rejoin the Paris climate deal. It's to reverse the withdrawal from the World Health Organization. It's to repeal the Muslim ban. It's to reinstate Dreamers. But what's not there is anything
Medicare for all.
Well, yeah, and Medicare for all. But what's also not there is anything
legalization
that pushes
of marijuana.
Listen.
Oops.
Like,
I got this call.
It's coming up.
I got this call.
Okay, hold on. What's not there though is anything
raising a living wage.
Okay, I'm about to leave.
Okay,
because
go ahead.
You won't let me finish my sentence, or I'm going to give you all of the time you need
to
get those out.
Go ahead.
What's not there is any sort of legislation that pushes us past where we were on the day that Trump came into office, right? There's this constant belief that Biden is going to come in as a centrist and he's going to focus all of his energy on reaching across the aisle to make sure that the moderate Democrats are happy. But like Julian was stating, there's so much more that needs to be done in those first 100 days in regards to executive orders. Things such as
living wage
or
well, we're not going to get Medicare for all.
Okay, but what else could he put in that executive order? Or in what as an executive order?
Cancel student loan debt.
Okay, what else could he do?
Rona relief.
What else could he do?
In the death penalty.
Anything else? Like there's
decriminalize marijuana. Legalize marijuana.
There's so many things that he can do that can push us forward even more as a society that he is. I'm really interested to see how this new crop of congressmen, congresswomen are going to push the president's efforts. How far left are they going to get him to go? Because we know how far right they can go, right? I want to know how far left we can push Biden to go in order to create a more fair and equitable world. That's what I'm really interested in. So that's what this article was all about. In shaping the Democratic agenda, I think it's super important to make sure that you dream big. Because I think that's what That's what this whole thing is about. I think that's what this new crop of individuals are all about. It's being individuals who make a difference in the world on a global scale, and it just kind of it ripples out like water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hope that I really hope Biden evolves on this and becomes more progressive with marijuana, right? Like, not just for the sake of Biden, not just for the sake of people who use marijuana, but it's a winning issue, right? Like, given it won in like Alabama this year. You know what I mean? Even very traditionally conservative states, you know, marijuana does well. Like, it would be completely asinine to let the Republicans essentially win that issue,
right,
or take that issue. And that directly affects a lot of people, right? Like, and if we're going to get serious about ending the war on drugs, we have to do that. We have to do that.
Definitely. Anything else?
Got a break? Are we done?
We can do a break.
We can do a break.
Okay.
All right.
Alrighty, we will be right back. I am Ruth.
And I'm Julian.
And you are listening to Together United.
This is the last break, y'all.
To be alive.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Breathe. To be alive, remain alive, breathe. To feel free of restraint, breathe. Is this what liberation tastes like? Breathe. Fresh air exposition, breathe. Rest after exertion, I can't breathe.
Hold up! It doesn't have to be like this. Imagine, what if Richard had been met with a tow truck in that parking lot instead of an armed police officer?
You okay?
Or what if Brianna and Ayana had slept peacefully through the night instead of being murdered in their beds? Or if a mental health professional had responded to the call about Kayla? What if they would have just let Elijah dance? What if my brother Monty got the treatment he needed instead of a jail cell? We are the largest and most diverse movement in the history of the world, and we are determined to create a future in which we don't have to imagine. Let me show you how.
The BREATHE Act starts by ending federal funding of the police and moving to divert funds away from the punitive agencies like ICE and the DEA. No more tanks rolling through our city streets, no more children in cages, no more over-policing of Black and brown neighborhoods, life sentences over dime bags, no more wrongful convictions of innocent people, while abusers with money are left to go free again and again and again. This system, designed only to punish and cage, is not keeping us safe. It is not working for us.
The BREATHE Act isn't only about defunding. In fact, that's just the beginning. Where are we going to put our money instead of police and prisons? By establishing federal incentives for cities and states, the next part of BREATHE allows communities to create new, non-carceral models of public safety on their own terms. These could be healing justice programs, violence and abuse interruption programs, or job opportunities for formerly incarcerated people like me. The BREATHE Act would allow these ideas to grow and expand.
So the thing that makes the Breathe Act really exciting is that it goes beyond the scope of how we traditionally view public safety. It's important that the right person shows up in an emergency. And we also need to build infrastructure to ensure that our communities are able to thrive day in and day out. That means access to healthy food and good jobs that pay a living wage and cleaning up our neighborhoods that have been poisoned for generations. That means providing housing to families, children, and all of our people who've been living in tents and in cars and who've been sleeping on the streets. That means disrupting the school to prison pipeline and making sure that our children have access to quality schools that are nurturing, safe, and supportive. And that means economic innovation in communities, including piloting universal basic income programs.
Some of these names you know, many you don't. Each of these people died at the hands of our criminal legal system. They were loved, they were cherished, and their lives mattered. Their deaths have moved me and many others to fight with everything we have to end police violence and to make the Breathe Act a reality. That's why Breathe calls for reparations and accountability to the Black community and all those impacted by state violence. Repairing the harm done already is not a footnote, but an essential measure for progress. Finally, Breathe includes provisions to enhance self-determination in Black communities by strengthening voting rights and ensuring that all Americans are able to have a voice in our democracy. In the words of the late, great John Lewis, let us walk together with extraordinary vision and go make some necessary good trouble.
All righty then.
So, as we close up, we got about 10 more minutes. Just a couple things that happened today. So what was it? I think about 100 Republicans had signed on to support throwing out millions of votes against for the election. Yeah.
What state was that from?
I mean, that was from all over.
There was there was something like specific to Ohio, I think.
Well,
what was it, Bob Latta, he also signed it.
John Husted, I think the lieutenant governor. I keep getting that wrong whenever it comes up. Lieutenant, that's what it is. Lieutenant governor.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's happening, right? And that's but the Supreme Court just turned it down, actually. Yeah. So
is that what you sent me?
Yeah, that's what I sent you. That I'm trying to pull up.
Oh,
because you didn't pull it up. It's okay. I got it now.
No, I thought that was just okay. Never mind.
What were you saying?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, it's the Supreme Court actually just turned it down. I just got an update today, right? So I think though what this shows really is how far it puts a number on it on a national level. How far some Republicans are willing to go to deny reality in their own personal interests, right? And so I mean that's I think what we really need to watch out for. It really shouldn't be like that with any public leaders, right? Anybody who's
new support in his long shot.
Anybody who's a servant of the public, right? It shouldn't be like that at all. So real quick, I'll pull up this. There we go. I'm getting better at that, Ruth. All right. Oh,
I feel like this is how you deleted it last time.
Almost.
Legal challenge to overturn the election. 106 Republicans in the U.S. House are now backing a lawsuit filed by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, which aims to throw out millions of votes. More than a dozen lawmakers on that list were re-elected on the same ballot. Paxton's lawsuit submitted to the Supreme Court is riddled with inaccuracies and conspiracy theories, asking the court to invalidate the results in 4 states Trump lost: Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. This morning, those states are asking the Supreme Court to reject the case, calling it a seditious abuse of the judicial process. Courts nationwide have rejected baseless election fraud claims from President Trump and his allies. But a new poll finds only 60% of voters view Joe Biden's victory as legitimate, and only 23% of Republicans. But this morning, some Republicans are speaking out against Trump's efforts, including Texas Senator John Cornyn.
I do not understand the legal theory. I don't want other states having a chance to change Texas law based on a similar effort.
And Senator Mitt Romney saying this:
Madness. It's just simply madness.
In the meantime, Democrats accuse Paxton of filing the suit as a way of fishing for a pardon. Report surfaced last month that Paxton is under federal criminal investigation. 7 of his top aides wrote this letter to Human Resources at the Texas Attorney General's office, claiming he used agency resources to do favors for a political donor. Paxton has denied any wrongdoing.
So
ready to find your favorite styles in seconds? With
so that's what
Poshmark,
we're
you
looking
can shop
at.
over 9,000 brands at prices up to 7.
There we go. So that's what we're looking at with Donald Trump, and I think that's it's wild, like how brazen they are. You know what I mean? And you know, I can't believe I'd be agreeing with Mitt Romney, and he says madness. He just said madness. Right. But make sure you follow us on. You can follow me, Golden Rule Mack, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can make sure you tune in every week to get more Together United. Ruth, how can they find you?
You can find me walking across that stage tomorrow as I collect my master's degree.
That's right.
But if you want to call me out on social medias, on Facebook, I am Ruth Leonard. On Instagram, I'm _flippin_adorkable. And on Twitter, I am Black_Ms. Frizzle.
I'm Julian.
And I'm Ruth.
And thank you for listening to another episode of
Together United.
Peace, y'all. Peace. Like, share, subscribe, turn your notifications on. We out.